Welcome to Royal Rebounds TV with Calvin and Barry. Just two crazy fans of the Sacramento Kings, and they sharing their opinion. So be sure that you subscribe. It's for the fans, by the fans. Whether you chilling on the couch or wilding in the stand. For laid back conversations about the Kings, subscribe here. Staying down until we come up thinking this gonna be our year. We're here drinking beer, talking about the Kings. Be sure you subscribe so you can hear that bell ring. Yeah.
What up, Kings fans? Welcome back to Royal Rebounds, the Sacramento Kings YouTube channel for fans by fans. The Sacramento Kings defeat the San Antonio Spurs tonight, 115-112. The Black Falcon leads all Kings scorers with 27 points. And the Spurs have Lonnie Walker score 30 points off the bench, but the Kings are able to weather the storm. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to smash that like button down below. And if you would like to join the Royal family with Calvin and I, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well.
Yes, thanks, Mike, for calling us out on Peja. What can I say? Kings haven't won much lately, right?
Yeah, let's flip them all. Let's flip them all around here. If you're listening via your favorite podcast platform, we would appreciate a 5-star rating. And if you would like to be a part of the show, you can always find us live after every single game on YouTube. We'll be right back with your Sacramento Kings Nightcap. We're here. We're drinking beers, and we're talking about your Sacramento Kings. That's delicious. Welcome back, everybody. Shout out to everyone in the chat. I see Sean, Sass, Fred, Mike. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Gothan, welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We are not drinking any flat beers tonight. We had a friend. Shout out to Katie from Waikiki Brewing Company for dropping us off a ton of different beers. Calvin, are you diving into that 12%er?
I am. This is striking a chord with me. This is a Michigan beer. It's a special release beer from Founders Brewing Company called KBS, stands for Kentucky Breakfast Stout. People go crazy for this in the Midwest. So thanks, Katie.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Thank you, Katie. I'm drinking a light beer right now, but I might be switching to a stout afterwards. We'll see how this show goes. What's up, Jim? How are you? Oh, man, Calvin, we got another victory. It just sounds so good. I know I was so pessimistic in the last podcast last night. I'm like, the season's over. It's over. The season's not over. Not quite yet. We still have quite a few games to go through, but the Kings officially tie the San Antonio Spurs in the win column at 24.
Yeah, you're either really happy because you got to see a Kings win, or you're really pissed because the Kings draft pick isn't as good today anymore.
Yeah,
or their chances of a good draft pick, I guess.
The Kings almost led this entire game until late in the fourth quarter, where the Spurs were able to take a small lead. The Kings were able to fight back and retain or rehab the lead there, and they didn't look back. I know there was some theatrical stuff happening towards the end of the game, a bunch of three-pointers, but the Kings were able to weather the storm. And, hey, it feels good to get another win, Calvin.
It's got to feel really good, especially if you're these players. The execution down the stretch was, honestly, it was better on the defensive end for the Kings than it was on the offensive end. There was a really key play there at the end. I felt like De'Aaron Fox, it's kind of a broken play at the end of the shot clock. De'Aaron Fox ends up taking a step-back three while Dante DiVincenzo is wide open. I realize neither of them have been shooting it that well, but I'll take a wide open three over a De'Aaron Fox contested step-back three any day. He misses that shot. DiVincenzo ends up getting the offensive rebound, though, gives it to Harrison Barnes for a layup. I felt like that was a really key moment there for the Kings as the game was beginning to end there.
Yeah, same.
And San Antonio was hot at that point, too. They had just taken their first lead and finally clawed their way back. So that was a really big offensive rebound. Sorry.
Yes, it was. The Kings roll out the same starting lineup they've had for the past 3 games, making them now 2-1 with this lineup of Trey Lyles. We didn't get to see Mo Harkless play again tonight, which is a little weird, but it seems to be pretty consistent now that if Mo Harkless is not starting, he is not getting any minutes in the game.
Yeah, he's an all-or-nothing kind of guy, I guess. I'm not really sure. But the Kings have had a few of those players this season. I mean, Chimezie Metu, I feel like, falls into that category.
Yep.
Tristan Thompson or Alex Len sometimes. And Damian Jones was big for Sacramento off the bench today. Big.
We got to see a bunch of bench guys play some pretty significant minutes in this game. Damian Jones, 20 minutes for him, 24 minutes for Davion Mitchell, and 29 minutes for Donte DiVincenzo. I thought they all played great tonight.
They did. I was really, really happy with the defensive effort in this game. It wasn't perfect throughout the course of the entire game, but they came out and played the right way and gave themselves a chance to win. And then when they were on fire there to start that third quarter, finally cooled off a ton. And when the shots started to not fall and San Antonio slowly makes their way back, you're thinking, oh, man, this team
Here
is
we go
prime
again.
for another huge letdown. But give them a lot of credit. They stuck with it and clawed their way to a victory.
Yeah, and the Kings were very aggressive. One of the only positives that I took out of last night's game was the Kings were able to get to the free throw line. They doubled up the Pelicans in free throw attempts. They did the same thing tonight with the Spurs.
Yeah.
14 huge free throws for Harrison Barnes tonight. I love when the Kings are aggressive. I love when they're getting to the basket. I love when they're making the refs make calls and they're not just taking early threes or just contested jumpers.
Yeah, Harrison really made up for some very, very unfortunate turnovers there at the end of the third quarter and beginning of the fourth quarter when San Antonio went on that big run. But he stepped up and knocked down a bunch of free throws late and delivered there at the end.
And De'Aaron Fox, 0 turnovers tonight.
Which I'm still amazed by because in the second half he was throwing some really wild passes in there. I felt like he was actually forcing the pass too much because of how much success he had in the first half. He was rolling balls on the ground. It was getting a little bit out of control there, but somehow didn't turn it over. I really don't know how that happened.
Almost another double-double for De'Aaron Fox tonight. He actually made a couple three-pointers in this game, 40% from the three-point line. But, Calvin, let's dive here into the box score.
Well, as you mentioned, a huge, huge offensive night for both De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes. Fox with 26 points, 9 assists, 6 rebounds, 0 turnovers. Also had 3 blocks and a steal in 39 minutes, and again, 50% from the field shooting. Harrison Barnes with 27 points, 11 of 14 at the foul line, and 5 rebounds. Sabonis, another near triple-double. Very, very routine numbers for him at this point. 12 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. And Justin Holiday, even though he didn't shoot well at all, still ends up with 12 points. And then the bench was much more productive tonight. Davion Mitchell, 8 points. Damian Jones with 10, and DiVincenzo with 11 to total it up there. Oh, thanks, Vinny. Sorry. That's one of Vinny's crowning achievements, right? Is that he sets up this stage perfectly for us every time. So I dropped the ball on that one. Sorry, Vinny.
No, that's okay. Another Vinny Squatch sighting, which is always exciting here. I'd like to see some more of these Kings guys get some rebounds. I know we saw Harrison Barnes earlier in the season, rebounding a little bit better. 12 rebounds tonight for Sabonis. I'd like to see another double-digit rebounder on this Kings squad. Unfortunately, Damian Jones is the only guy close with 7. And then after that, you have Donte DiVincenzo with 6 rebounds. We raved about how good of a rebounder this guy is. But I think that's a need that the Kings have going into this offseason. And it's tough when you play with a black hole like Sabonis. And I'm not saying that in a negative sense. I'm just saying in the fact that, this guy is such a rebound hog that when it's coming off the rim, he's usually right there. He's heavily involved. But I'd like to see the Kings do a little bit better job rebounding.
I was actually really happy with the rebounding tonight. I mean, they out-rebounded San Antonio by 10, 49-39 as a team. As I mentioned, and you mentioned, DiVincenzo, Harrison Barnes, those are guys who are fantastic rebounders for their size. And the beauty of having Sabonis on this team, not just the fact that he's a great rebounder, but the rake and take, as they call it, or the grab and go, where he's able to get a rebound and then immediately start the transition or the fast break or the early offense the other direction, allows these guys to get out and run a little bit more. So I think, 50 rebounds as a team, just about. You out-rebound your opponent by 10. I'm pretty happy with it.
I'm being a little
overall.
nitpicky here. I know it's a win. I'm just looking to things to build off of for the rest of the season and next season as well. I didn't take a lot of notes in this game, Calvin. I was afraid. I was watching the game early on. I'm like, okay, the Kings are playing well. They started out really hot in this game. I'm like, okay, here we go again. They're playing with my emotions again. Why couldn't have they just won last night or lost tonight?
Yeah.
I'm tired of this win one, lose one, win one, lose 2 or 3. But it's okay. It's a win. I'll take it.
And the way this game ended, too, I mean, it's just coming every possession. DeJounte Murray hits that 3 to get him with one, or to pull within 2 with like 1 or 2 seconds left. And you're like, God, how unlucky is this team? Are they really going to find a way to lose this game?
Yeah, what's up, T? We are also happy the Kings won this game. Anything that really jumped out to you in the team stats tonight, Calvin? I know the Kings didn't shoot well again from three-point range, only 31%. As I mentioned, they doubled up the Spurs with free throw attempts, 16 total for San Antonio, 32 for Sacramento. And then, as you mentioned, they out-rebounded the other team. Anything else that really stuck out to you here?
Well, it's just impressive that the Kings won this game when you look at the team stats, because normally you'd look at this, 64 points in the paint for San Antonio to just 46 for the Kings. The three-point shooting, as you alluded to, normally when the Kings have games like that, they don't do too well.
And they turn the ball over 15 times.
And they turn the ball over a lot in the second half, too. We've seen a ton of games this season where the Kings shot really well, got points in the paint, and they still lost because their defense wasn't good enough. So, again, give them credit that in a tight game there when they lost the lead at the end, coming off of a really, really rough second half performance against the Pelicans, that they made enough plays to get this one done.
Yeah, the Kings pretty much dominated this game. I know it doesn't reflect it in the score here, the final score. The Kings only win by 3. They were up by 19 at one point in this game. And I got to think that if Lonnie Walker didn't shoot as well as he did tonight, the Spurs would have been blown out in this game. This guy almost set a new career high. He's 1 away from a career high, and I like Lonnie Walker a lot.
He had 22 at halftime. I mean, the fact that the guy couldn't miss in the first half.
And I actually do like Lonnie Walker a lot. I think he's a great player, but the Kings continue to have this other guy that gets buckets against them. It seems to be a constant trend with this team that – either the star player is playing out of his mind, or the others, or 1 or 2 of these other guys seem to have a career night. And that's almost what Lonnie Walker had tonight. But, you look at this Spurs team, it's still a Greg Popovich run team. They don't turn the ball over very much. Yep. They do the things that they need to win games generally. Great schematics, stuff like that. I was a little surprised they only shot 50% from the free throw line. I thought that had a big impact on the Spurs. I know, the Kings were up by 19 at one point, but if the Spurs had converted on a few more of those free throws, this game could have gone to overtime.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you do really love Lonnie Walker. I really expected you to come into this show just hot about what your plan is to get Lonnie Walker on the Kings for next season.
Hey, we might talk about that in the next section, Calvin, but we're talking about the game right now. You want to dive here into your what your keys for the game were? And real quick, we got a bunch of people watching right now. I just want to give a shout out to all you guys, every Kings fan that's here watching. Thank you guys so much for continuing to support the team. It's tough, like you're losing games constantly. This is going to be 16 years, setting the record for most consecutive seasons not making the playoffs, and we're all still here rooting for our team. So thank you guys so much. I feel very similar in the fact that, it's painful watching these games. It's even more painful getting up here and talking about it for an hour after you lose a game. But we're all Kings fans. We all want the same thing, and we're all sticking together. So make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and go Kings.
Well said. My keys to the game tonight, number one was guard the three. Everybody not named Lonnie Walker. I think that was a success. But, a lot of those shots were contested. He just hit nearly everything. It was it was very impressive. Number two was talk on D. I liked the defensive effort from the Kings tonight. I thought that they did a really good job on DeJounte Murray. Kind of building a wall there. The Spurs did have a ton of paint points in the end, but they made stuff difficult for him, and you never really got the feeling like he took over or dominated this game, and he has done that a lot this season in his first All-Star year in the NBA. And then number three was find a way to play a complete game. We wanted to see that the Kings be able to have a sustained effort for 48 minutes as opposed to 24 minutes.
Not like last night.
Yeah, and there was maybe, a 5 to 8 minute period where the Kings really did not look good as the Spurs made that great comeback. But overall, I think it was a success. They were able to close out this game and not have the disastrous turnaround like they did last night.
And it's really surprising because I don't know how many of you guys watched the pregame show, but they were talking about how the Kings plane got delayed. They got stuck.
They were really driving that point home, I think, because they expected this game to be a blowout.
They're like, they were there for 4 hours, and then they had to turn around and get back on the plane. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, and the Kings still weren't boarded, and blah, 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 and all this. They asked Alvin Gentry, and he's like, well, that just means that, we're going to have shorter shorter
his answer was great.
Minute spans for people, so they're not going to play the same consecutive minutes that they normally would. Maybe they need to do that more often because the Kings win tonight. Maybe. Charlie says, I'd like to see Sabonis a little more aggressive at the rim because he's getting defenders out of position and he's looking to pass and dudes aren't giving him an outlet or cutting to the basket.
I agree with that. I also think that Sabonis, I've seen him dribble himself into a really bad spot. A lot mostly in the past couple of games. He gets stuck a lot of times right underneath the basket. So yeah, you can say that people aren't cutting for him, but that's a horrible place to get caught with the ball without your dribble anymore. So I agree. I want him to be more aggressive too. I wish he would get to the free throw line a little bit more. Not all of that is on his shoulders. Sometimes he's got to get calls. And then he's played in foul trouble a lot the past few games also. So that limits how aggressive he can be both offensively and defensively too.
Yeah, and honestly, I see Derek here. Sabonis looked tired tonight. I wouldn't be surprised if he was tired. Dealing with all that, playing on a back-to-back in a different city. I know last night probably took a lot out of these players just emotionally, physically, mentally. That was a really, really tough game to lose, especially after starting out so hot. And, I think a lot of people, they forget that these big guys are really beat up every single night, like down inside. Like it's a whole nother position to play when you're playing inside in the NBA. You have guys that are 200, 250, 300 pounds bumping into you, landing into you, elbowing you. I don't know how many of you guys have read Shaq's book, but Shaq had literally a traveling masseuse that would massage him every single day because he was getting beat up. He'd have bruises all over his body after every single game. It's no joke playing in the paint, Cal.
No, especially with guys that are that size and, have elbows the size of trucks. I would never want to get caught with one of those.
Jeff the Lefty, I heard James Ham say that the Kings should build around the big two on this team. However, I believe we have the big three, including HB.
I love Harrison Barnes. We've praised him all year long, and he is, as we said before, a really vital part of this team. Can he be like a third star or, the third can he play to this type of level for an entire season? A guy that's going to be in the 20s, low 20s points per game, shoot very, very well, very efficient. He's been consistent, but hasn't always, given him these types of numbers. I would love to see the Kings hang on to him. But if you're going to make a move that brings you another star to this team and it involves Harrison Barnes, I don't know. I'm still going to have to think about it, I guess.
Yeah, I like HB. I love it when HB is this aggressive. I think he's a constant professional. I think he's a great guy to have in the locker room. The only thing that I have against Harrison Barnes is he's a little bit older than this group of core players. So maybe his window doesn't line up with this core's window. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the only negative that I have about Harrison Barnes.
Will depend on this offseason, you know? I mean, if
Yep.
they're able to somehow keep Harrison Barnes and add another, you know, really talented borderline-ish star on this team, that accelerates this team's window, you know? They move
Yep.
closer to a win-now type situation. So we'll see how it all unfolds.
And on that point, if the Kings do decide that they want to grab another all-star or something, they're probably going to have to give up Harrison Barnes and a pick, both talent-wise and salary cap-wise as well.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. They still have Rashawn Holmes and a couple other guys, so we'll have to see.
What's up, Goffin? Jahan says, evening, guys. This just in. Kings still suck. Makes me so mad. I was on that one last night, JN, but I'm trying to take these one game at a time. I'm not getting too high. I'm not getting too low. But the Kings won tonight. It doesn't happen very often, so I'm enjoying it. I mean, 24 wins on the season.
Got to take them when we can, right?
There's not a lot of wins happening, but yeah. I was feeling so hot off of the Summer League Championship. I'm like, we're the champions. Yes, we're going to make the playoffs this season.
Oh. I've spoken like a true Kings fan. I was feeling so hot off the Summer League Championship.
We even took photos with it when we were at FanFest.
Yeah, I mean, just another thing to do there, I guess.
Yeah. I want to know how many of you are going to be going to the Farewell Arco event on March 19th. Let me know in the chat because Calvin and I are trying to go to that as well. So I'd really like to see how many of you plan on going. And JN, we're going to be in Sacramento on the 18th, possibly the 19th as well, for the Kings-Celtics game. So you have another chance to say hi to us. I work in downtown, but I had to put my dog down the night. Oh, man. Oh, no, down for the night, I think, to sleep.
Oh, okay.
I hope that's what you mean. Where do you work in downtown? Let us know. We'd be happy to come see you. Oh, man, Calvin. I got to ask you, King of the night. It's a tough one.
I'm going to go with De'Aaron Fox.
Yeah?
I mean, Harrison Barnes was big down the stretch with free throws, and he had a really good offensive game, but I felt like De'Aaron was largely in part the reason why the Kings built a big lead early on in this game. He was really, really, really good and really efficient right away. I mean, it almost looked too easy for him. He looked like he was just walking through the motions, taking exactly what the defense gave him. He was facilitating and getting guys involved very early on. And like I said, I liked his defensive effort on DeJounte Murray overall tonight as well. So I'm going to go with De'Aaron Fox.
Was it the turnovers? Did that have anything to do with it for you?
For Harrison Barnes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he had some pretty costly ones there in the third quarter. Overall, I think he played a really, really great game. But I'm just going to defer to De'Aaron Fox here just because he got himself going offensively, both creating shots for himself and for others. You know, Harrison Barnes, he can create shots for others, but that's not what he's out there to do on this team. He's out there to hit threes, get to the basket, get to the free throw line, create for himself. De'Aaron did a really good job of getting everybody involved.
Yeah, great game for De'Aaron Fox. He just continues to get better and better this season as the games go on. It might be a little bit too late, but I like seeing him.
I still think I know he hit a couple threes tonight. I think he settled for some threes late in the game that I didn't like. I would have much rather him try to get back to the basket or to the foul line instead. But that's pretty much the only complaint that I would have with him tonight.
Yeah. Jason, welcome to the channel. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you are a Kings fan. We do live in Hawaii. We live in Maui. And I moved here about 12 years ago after I finished college. I was born and raised in Sacramento and in Davis. Calvin and I grew up together in Davis, and he moved out here a few years ago. What is it, 4 years now for you?
It is almost 4 years now.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's wild.
Hawaii is an amazing place, and we actually live across the street from Kaanapali Beach, where Vivek Ranadive has a condo. So I run into him sometimes, and I also see a lot of cool NBA players here as well. But we try and make it back to Sacramento whenever we can. We went to a couple games last month. We went to the Fan Fest, and we will be there again in a couple weeks. So hopefully we'll get to meet you, Jason. So, Calvin, we got to take a look. I guess, was this our second look at Devin Vassell this season? I know you were huge on him in the draft. I want to know what you saw from him tonight, what you like, what you dislike. Did the Kings make the right decision? And how do you feel as far as this guy's NBA future now that you've seen him a few times?
Well, first of all, the Kings didn't have an opportunity to draft him because he was taken, I think, right in front of Tyrese. He was the 11th pick. I still like him. I think that he's in a great situation in San Antonio. He's a 3-and-D player, and his development maybe isn't quite as fast as some people thought it would be. I mean, some people had him in the top 6 or 7 on their draft boards going into that draft. He's probably not, or at least not yet, that good of a player. But like I said, I think it's a really good situation for him to be in San Antonio, and he's a very stereotypical, or stereotypical is not the right word, but he's the type of player that NBA teams want right now. Long, athletic wing defender who can shoot from the outside. He fits on, every team in the NBA for those reasons.
Yeah. And, to put things into perspective here, if you were to think of one of the best two-way players in the NBA, you'd probably think of a guy like Kawhi Leonard, who was actually on the Spurs. He was drafted by the Pacers, involved in that draft day trade for George Hill.
Yep.
He only averaged 7.9 points per game his first season. It took him 5 seasons before he averaged 20 points a game. So development takes time, even if you're touted as an NBA-ready 3-and-D guy. Anybody else you want to shout out on this Spurs team?
No, I mean, nobody really outside of DeJounte Murray still ends up with 29 points and 12 rebounds. Man,
the rebounds is crazy.
But he's had such a good year, and yeah, I mean, Lonnie Walker. You take those two guys away, the Kings win this game by 30. I mean, that's all they had tonight.
Yeah. How are you feeling about Zach Collins? I know he's been dealing with a ton of injuries. This is a guy that was actually drafted by Sacramento with the 10th pick, traded to Portland. I think we ended up with Harry Giles and maybe Scal, somebody like that. He's dealt with injuries. I think they took a waiver on him, bringing him to San Antonio. Is this guy done? What's going on with him? Because I'm not seeing the same guy that I saw in Portland.
It seems like that. I mean, you have to obviously let a little more time play out, but he's, like you said, had to deal with a ton of injuries, has really struggled to stay on the court, and then he just hasn't quite panned out the way people would have expected to. I kind of see his career being more of the same. Not that he'll continue to be hurt, but I'm not sure that I see him becoming a major star in this league anymore. I think that ship might have sailed.
That's a bummer. That really is. Alex said, what you guys willing to give up for Levine? A legit athletic 2-1 combo to pair with Fox that can hit the 3. I know it's a long shot, and our D wouldn't improve, but we'd be a high-powered offense.
Sure would. I mean, I think it's going to take an awful lot to get him, so I'm not really sure.
He's a free agent, right?
I don't believe so. Or is he restricted?
He's definitely not restricted because he's not on the rookie deal. For me, it's why would Zach LaVine want to come to Sacramento? Because ultimately, I think the decision is going to be into his hands. He's been in hell, basically, in Chicago for the past few years. He's finally getting better. The team is doing better. Why would he want to ruin all that and come to a team like Sacramento? I would like him to be on the Kings, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see why he would choose to come to Sacramento. I don't see it.
Yeah, he is going to be an unrestricted free agent next season. So you technically wouldn't have to give up anything to get him except for dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, I just don't see why he would come to Sacramento, honestly.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that Chicago will probably do it whatever it takes to re-sign him anyway. in the offseason, but who knows?
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into your Sacramento Kings with Around the Crown.